Coming up on City Spotlight, we are talking all about Tuscola. In this first episode on Tuscola, we'll talk with the mayor of Tuscola, Dan Kleiss, and Brian Moody, executive director of the Tuscola Chamber and Economic Development, about Tuscola's location and access to many roads. Plus a look at Tuscola's current economic climate and what impact the outlet mall and golf course subdivision have had on Tuscola. The focus is on Tuscola, next on City Spotlight. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. And welcome to another edition of City Spotlight. Today we are in the studio for the first episode on Tuscola. And joining us in the studio to talk about Tuscola is the mayor of Tuscola, Dan Kleiss. Welcome, Dan.
Good morning. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And we also have Brian Moody. He's the executive director of the Tuscola Chamber and Economic Development. Brian, welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. And to our WEIU viewers, both these gentlemen were storytellers on the recent WEIU Tuscola Our Story program, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But your first-time guests here on City Spotlight, so I'll have you tell us about yourselves, and we'll have Dan go first.
Sure. Well, I've been the mayor of Tuscola since 1988. I joined the city council in 1986, became the mayor in 1988, as I said, and I've enjoyed it ever since. I married to a great, very understanding woman, so anytime you're in politics, you got to have a good sidekick, and so Amy's been that for me, and two wonderful adult children and two grandchildren. So they both live in Tuscola, or all of them live in Tuscola, and that's great. And I'm a lifelong resident of Tuscola, and really enjoy doing the things that I do to try to improve the community.
I want to ask you one follow-up question here before we ask Brian to tell us about himself. 30 years as mayor, did you envision that you'd be 30 years as mayor? 1988, I'm going to be mayor of Tuscola.
No, I sure didn't. I was a little hesitant getting into it, and it was just kind of a fluke. A resident actually asked me to be on the city council at the time somebody was leaving, and then when I was there on the city council, the mayor, he decided to go. The mayor at the time decided to move to Georgia, and lo and behold, the council appointed me mayor then, and I've run the elections since that time. And I don't know, I guess I just never looked back.
I believe I read, or maybe you had told me previously, longest current serving mayor in Illinois, is that correct?
No, I think there was, well, wait a minute. I think that could be right, yeah, because I think the one in Marion was the longest for a number of years, and then also St. Joe mayor decided to retire the last couple of years ago. So maybe I could be, yeah. Well,
Tuscola is great to have you, and great to have you here. Brian, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Yeah, happy to. Brian Moody, born and raised in Tuscola, went away for college, but came back to work in a family business, and been in this position for about 13 years. I had been on the city council and had just gotten elected, and this position came open. Really always passionate about the community, been very involved with the chamber and economic development, had been on the fire department. And ended up getting the job, and really brought me on as a small business consultant. I had done some of that on the side with the previous business that I worked with, and kind of saw that as a key role. Got in the job a few months and realized there were some real opportunities for Tuscola from an industrial development standpoint. And a little project came along called FutureGen, and spent quite a bit of time on that. And I've been very fortunate, blessed to be able to work and live in the community that I grew up in. My wife is from Tuscola as well. We live there in town with our two boys, Braxton and Eli. And just all around have a great small town all-American life.
Very good. Two gentlemen, both from Tuscola, your hometown. So look forward to hearing all your comments here today. And let's quickly recap the opportunity for Tuscola to be a part of the Tuscola Our Story program that WEIU aired a week before we are taping this program, and share all those stories to the world. What was that opportunity like?
Yeah, sure. It was great for me. I sat down and got to talk about my hometown, but probably more exciting was the fact of when I actually watched it on premiere night. I actually learned things. And, like I said, I've been here 61 years, and I learned things about Tuscola that I didn't really know. So it was very enlightening, and I've had many residents tell me that as well that have seen the show since that time.
And Brian, you were a storyteller, talked about the fire department.
Yeah, so my other role in town, I wear a couple hats, and I'm also the fire chief in Tuscola. I've been doing that for a few years now. I've been on the fire department a little over 20 years, but it's really fun to be able to share some stories about the fire department. See a lot of old photos that I received a lot of comments back about those, and just a lot of great history in the fire department. It's a great volunteer organization. We've fortunate to have a lot of members of the community that have served in the fire department over the years, and just nice to be able to share that tradition, have a little pride in some of the work that they've done.
Very good. It was 25 stories on Tuscola, and we have you gentlemen here today, so we have a little bit more time to talk about. Let's start with Tuscola's location. I think that's a major strength for you guys. You're located in the heart of East Central Illinois. Many roads, interstates, U.S. Route 36 and 45. Let's talk about the geographic location for Tuscola.
Yeah, I think it's a great spot, and something that I learned when we were developing the mall project, which we'll touch on a little bit more later, but was when you get on the interstate, you get to see a big majority of the town before you have to exit. Right. And not every community is that way. Sometimes you go by an exit and then you see something, you go, oh no, now what am I going to do? But Tuscola on Interstate 57 is kind of unique in that sense, as you have an opportunity to see something, and then you have the exits. And of course the rail and the highways are a tremendous asset to the community. We have three intersections of railroads right there, Route 36, Route 45, and those are both U.S. highways, and then of course the interstate. So it's great. Brian in economic development, he can probably even talk more about the location when he talks with developers.
And Brian, we'll talk about economic development full scale here in just a bit, but to be able to have all that access from pretty much every direction.
It's one of our selling points, always just our centralized location from a recruitment standpoint of recruiting new businesses in the community. To do that in a small town is not always an easy thing to do, but to be able to do that and have some larger population centers located right around us. We like to say we're kind of equidistant to a lot of things. We have Champaign-Urbana, Charleston, Mattoon, Decatur, fairly equidistant to us, but St. Louis, Chicago, Indianapolis the same way. So you're really not too far away from the larger city, and the resources that exist there. But we're also, as the mayor said, an interconnection point for railroad, for interstate pipelines. That's probably one of our largest strengths from an industrial development standpoint, something we brings a lot of folks to our area and gives us some initial looks from different companies. Right. It's because of the natural gas that we have flowing through the community. Absolutely. And really, that's part of what's brought industry to Tuscola historically, and why we have some of the companies that we do today located west of town. And again, it's really driving things going forward.
Many intersections in Tuscola where train crossing, and a lot of smaller communities in central Illinois, the trains have gone through, and they're no longer part of the community. But for the trains to still be an intricate part of Tuscola, like you said, 3 railways, that's pretty big. Yeah,
and I think that's probably what distinguishes us from some of the other smaller communities is we have all 3 rails. Some of them may just have the one, right. Or maybe even 2, but we have all 3 rails going every which direction, and it really helps. Sometimes it becomes frustrating when you're crossing town, right. but I will say the railroads over the years have gotten much better in that regard.
All right, very good. From your geographic location and roads, let's talk about your vast economic development. So we'll start in the very west and then head back over to the interstate. So your big industry out west, it's has a pretty good history, and let's list your employers starting out west.
Yeah. So as Brian mentioned earlier, we have the natural gas pipelines that are out there, and they've gone through a number of name changes over the years. Right. Panhandle Eastern Pipeline. One of the reasons that USI, or now Lyondell-Basell, located there many years ago was because of that pipeline. And then it came along. That was early 50s. And then the late 50s, Cabot Corporation then joined in, and they all use basically that natural gas pipeline that Brian has mentioned, and very, very advantageous to the city of Tuscola and those businesses. And they've been that industrial boom, I guess, in the 50s was very important to Tuscola and the growth of Tuscola, and made us think about how do we continue those kind of growths as we move into town. And maybe I'll let Brian speak a little bit as once you get into the edge of town, and maybe some may have there, Brian, when we're talking about some of the new development even out there in that corridor.
Absolutely, and it's certainly provided a lot of employment, not just for people in Tuscola, but pretty much all of Central Illinois.
Absolutely. It's one of the things we get asked about. We try to really promote a pro-business attitude and an approach, working with our local businesses, working with the larger industries, realizing it's a partnership with those companies. And I think we've been able to do that because, as Dan alluded to, so many people have worked in those facilities. A lot of families have had connections to them. I used to say regularly that, hey, a lot of my friends, that's how they got put through college, or their parents, that's how they got put through college, was because of those facilities. So people see the value in those companies, and again, having those kind of strong relationships with them. We see that on the fire department side as well, because again, we have a lot of extensive relationships with them, and in our emergency response and preparedness, a lot of the resources we have on the department come again from those industries. But Dan's absolutely right. That's as we move forward and try to recruit new businesses, we're able to bring new prospects into those facilities, have them meet with the management of those companies, and typically they give very glowing reviews about their local workforce. And we've also recognized, again, kind of going back to FutureGen, that's just not a workforce that's just in the local community. It's all over East Central Illinois. We have people that travel 30, 40 minutes each way. And so that's a whole other thing that you can use as you're trying to attract new business to the area, to help them realize where that workforce is out there and will travel to the location.
And it doesn't hurt that it's along a pretty nice road too.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
Very much so.
Anything else with those industry out there? Can we head over to the downtown area and talk about those
Yep.
businesses? And there's been influx of new businesses in the downtown area. Obviously, I guess you could start with Flusser's Candy Kitchen.
Yeah.
Is a pretty big destination in Tuscola. A lot of people like to go to Flusser's.
Very much so. It's interesting. When the interstate came in the late '60s, it's kind of a curse and a blessing as you look at things, because people do tend to migrate businesses out towards the interstate, and so it's been difficult in small communities to get keep their downtown vibrant. But Flusser's has always been kind of a cornerstone, so it's been there. I remember it as a kid. It closed down for a little while, and the Flusser family opened it back up. So it's really been a cornerstone of downtown there. And we're seeing a resurgence of that. And maybe in the service and restaurant business, we have Joe's Pizza, which is really kind of across the street from it right now. We have a new restaurant that's doing a complete rehab down there of a building right now. It's going to be called Irma Lou's and Iron Cast Pub. Okay. And it's a local. I'll say a kid. He's younger than me, but he's definitely an adult, young adult now. And who had moved away, became a very good chef, and decided, hey, Tuscola, maybe that's the place that I need to be. So it's good to see that coming back. And so our vibrant downtown is starting to be vibrant again. And of course, with Richard and Donna Kidwell as the mainstays, and the Winterberry down there. And now we have the Sale Street Boutique as a nice rehab project. And a building down there called the Art Vault, which is amazing to me.
Big sign.
It's amazing to me, and coming from somebody who's probably not a real artsy person, but when I go in, I'm amazed at the talent of individuals that are in that building.
So a new variety of businesses have joined the downtown area. Like you said, the cornerstone is Flusser's, but new things, and talk about the vibrance of the downtown area of Tuscola now.
Well, I think the city's made a pretty substantial investment in the downtown over the past 20 to 30 years, really trying to maintain the streets, the sidewalks. They did a big streetscape project that really showed that their desire to keep that area vibrant. And I think that's helped us in our effort to attract investment and attract businesses in the community. And we've been pretty successful in that way. As the mayor mentioned, people like Richard and Donna Kidwell and the Flusser Lesser Sisters, have been great self-promoters and have attracted a lot of energy there. And now, Joe's and a couple of the other things we've seen, Vintage Karma coming in the downtown. It's been nice for me. I don't remember as much traffic in the downtown in the evenings when I was a kid down there. And you see a lot of traffic in the evenings now. People sitting out on the streets and getting a lot of use. So it's good to see.
Little noise there on Sales Street.
That's right.
All right, very good.
Yes.
Let's head on down to Route 36, and before we get to the interstate, you obviously have that new gas station there, the Lambo. It's very big. A lot of traffic, obviously, off the interstate. Donut shop. Those are recent businesses that have been added. Let's talk about those businesses between downtown and the mall.
Yeah.
Talk about those.
Sure. Yeah. So that corridor, which is Route 36 going down, connecting downtown with the interstate businesses, and we have it's kind of a blend because we have the Do It Best Hardware, which has been in the community for 40 plus years now. Jim and Kay Higgins have done a fantastic job. They've moved into, I think this is probably their fourth building in Tuscola. Wow. And have expanded greatly. They do a tremendous job. Of course, the Ford dealership there, Ford of Tuscola, which is getting ready to be the cornerstones basically of going towards the downtown area there. And it's always good to have them. Of course, our IGA food liner, which is very important to have grocery store access in the community. And then as you mentioned there, we have Lambo's, which is a truck center basically, and it's really amazing. That was a truck stop years ago when I was a kid, in the 70s, and then it ran its course, and we've now kind of rejuvenated that corner, which was very important, very big project because there was a lot of concrete to move there, and so very expensive. So that's been very good, and then Brian's been very helpful with the rest of the corridor getting over there to Interstate 57 then.
You have multiple gas stations that service a lot of commuters, whether in town or obviously off the interstate there. So let's talk about the mall area, unless you want to talk about some of those businesses before the mall.
Well, I think one important thing that I would point out is we've been very successful with what I would term as infill development. So we've really been able to, as the mayor again alluded to with the former truck stop on the Lambos property, really been able to take some old properties that maybe weren't in such great shape and reuse those properties, get new investment into them, and that has been a constant lesson, I think, over 20 years here, and we continue to do that. So we continue to push properties that have maybe run their course a little bit. Now we need to look at what the next thing is, and have been pretty successful in doing that. The mall has been a tremendous development. Mayor can talk about that and their efforts to secure that, and has just provided a huge amount of tax revenue into the community to allow us to do some of these other things, improve the streets in the downtown, improve some of the corridors, fix sidewalks, invest in other businesses. So it takes a diverse effort. I think that's definitely something we've learned in the small town. One of the lessons to take away from the mayor's work is we need all kinds of things. We don't want to just focus on one particular small development, small area. We need a lot of diverse, vibrant development.
All right, so Brian segued us over to the mall area now.
Yeah.
And Mayor, that has come about the early part of your tenure as mayor.
Actually, I was reviewing some scrapbook for this is our story, Tuscola, and it was interesting to note in April of 1994 when we broke ground.
Wow.
For the mall, we worked on that project. I say we. There's a number of people in the community who helped with that for 5 years before we threw some dirt there, and. So economic development is kind of a hurry up, wait, hurry up, our lights, and wait. And so it was good to see that come to fruition and come up out of the ground. So it was very nice. It took very, very many components to fall together to make it work. And so it's been very successful. I think some people gave it a chance of about 5 years. Some people gave it a chance of maybe 10 years. Quite honestly, I was hoping that we could get a good 20 out of it before we had to think about some sort of rejuvenation with it, just because that's kind of what happens. But it's been very good for the city of Tuscola in the sense, as Brian mentioned, you get to take those dollars and use them in the rest of the community to kind of help keep taxes and everything else low so that people get the same kind of services they're used to. So that's been very good to us.
And obviously with that type of business. Many different stores, they're there, some come, some go. Is not a difficult task to try to get new ones to come in there, in case you have a few empty lots there? Talk about that.
Yeah, I think so. We continue to see a lot of interest driven by the interstate. I think the fact that that interchange is, we've focused a lot of development there, and it goes back to a point the mayor made early on about the approach to Tuscola on the interstate. It's one of the things we still hear very regularly. I have recent developers still talking about that. Is Tuscola's a little unique in its interchange is very easy on, easy off, and you're immediately get off the interstate and boom, you're right on top of some of these businesses. So we have some property right by these interchanges that I think we're going to continue to see development here. The city's focused right now on opening up one of the exit ramps so that we can actually directly access some of the property right off the interstate, and has some recent planning work that's been done there, and looking at some intersection changes there. And again, just trying to make it as easy as possible for developers to be able to come into some of those spaces. Let the mayor talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we're hopeful that we can expand, I guess, right up against the west side of the interstate there on the north side of 36, and
okay.
We currently have been working with IDOT and getting that interchange go on through basically, and they've been very receptive to it, and so it looks like probably I would say within the next few months that we'll be able to get a pretty good plan solidified there, and looking forward for more development out in that area.
All right, very good. We'll definitely catch up on that the next time. And in our last few minutes here, we've gone through a lot of the businesses from the west to the east in Tuscola. What future things are you guys working on that you can tell us?
Right. Sometimes we can't. A lot of focus right now on energy development, so we're seeing a lot of interest from solar developers. There's some wind development going on in the county, and we're seeing a lot of activity related around that. A lot of contractors having interest there. My economic development group has been working on a fertilizer plant, the Coronas facility, for a number of years, and that continues to make some progress, and I'm hopeful we'll have some positive news about it coming forward here in the next several weeks. But as the mayor said, a lot of time goes into these projects. We're many years into some of them, but continue to see a lot of good activity driven by really low energy cost and the great availability of natural gas in our area.
There's several things on the list we're going to have to tally to the next time, but I want to see if I can get a comment from the mayor about, obviously you have the golf course subdivision area.
Yep.
Has been a big addition to Tuscola in recent years.
It's been really super, and that was one of the things that Tuscola struggled with too, as well, is getting a housing subdivision built, and then actually getting the subdivision put in and then houses built on it. So it was one of the first subdivisions projects that we'd had in many, many, many years. That also took about 5 years to get completed, but it's built as an 18-hole championship golf course, link style, beautiful course. It even is today, and that too was in 95, 96, and so going very strong there.
It was a busy time in Tuscola. You had the mall
Yes,
in.
it was.
Yes,
it was very busy, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and seeing my community, our community, stay vibrant is very important to us, and that subdivision is really something to look at, and the golf course is really something to play. So you want to lose a few balls and hit them around everything, that'll be a good place to go.
and a few big homes in that subdivision too.
Yes, there is.
Very nice looking subdivision. In our last minute or so, gentlemen, we appreciate your time here on City Spotlight. You're both from Tuscola. You've talked about some of the historical things that have transpired from the big industry to the mall, the golf course. My final question for both of you, and I'll have Brian go first. What are you most proud about your hometown?
I think just the community effort that goes in. We have so many people that give so much time and energy to just a variety of activities, and it's one of the things I'm very proud about, our town.
Very good. Mayor?
Yeah, I go along too with Brian, what he said there, and something that I think is good to note is when you see our community, you see a number of people who have volunteered and worked there for many, many years and wanted to see the town thrive, which is really good. Our fire chiefs, our police chiefs, even me as mayor now, there's a great deal of continuity there. And we do it because we want to. Those aren't necessarily a lot of high-paying jobs, trust me. But we do it because we want to see the community grow. And the citizens are the same way, even though they're not necessarily on a city council. But but they contribute in so many ways. The fire department, helping out with the underprivileged, all those kind of things. This town really steps forward and makes people smile.
Beautiful. Volunteer work, teamwork. That's how a city gets things done, right?
Yep, that's right.
The Mayor of Tuscola, Dan Kleiss, and Brian Moody, Executive Director of the Tuscola Chamber and Economic Development. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on City Spotlight.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Look forward to catching up on Tuscola in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And that'll do it for this episode on Tuscola. As we wrap up the program, let's take a look at some of the upcoming activities going on in Tuscola. City Spotlight is on YouTube. Past episodes can be viewed on East Central Illinois towns that have been featured on City Spotlight. Just search on YouTube City Spotlight with the show number and the name of the town. Listed on your screen are the recent episodes of City Spotlight. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.